Today I have a message for you that I hope really rings through to your heart. I hope that you really understand what it is that I'm trying to say, because if you do, it has the power to change your life in a profound way. These ideas helped me shift when I was living below the veil of consciousness, when I was surrounded by people who I felt were pushing me around, when I was reactive, when I was highly emotional, when I felt like my mind was just this rat race. I could not shut my mind off. I was constantly worrying about different types of things, primarily what other people thought about me, how other people felt about me, which was all tied to not feeling good enough, which was tied to how I grew up as a little girl, as the child of two unrecovered adult children of alcoholics. On both sides of my family tree, there was a long line of alcoholism, and one of my grandparents actually took her own life, leaving my father abandoned at the age of 3. And so you can imagine that me being born to a 19-year-old little girl, young teenager, whose both parents were alcoholics, and there was a lot of trauma in her life, various types of trauma, and she meeting my father, who was the unrecovered adult child of an alcoholic whose mother had taken her life. He was only about 21 when they had me. So they come together and they have me. Two people that just have absolutely zero life skills, have no idea how to get around in the world in a healthy way, and who were magically brought together through attraction. Is it any coincidence that my mother and my father were both adult children of alcoholics? Absolutely not. And that's the way this universe operates. It operates through attraction. It operates through magnetism. If you don't believe me, just look out your window. You will notice a sun that's hanging out in the sky with no scaffolding and no string. And at tonight, when you look out your window, you'll see stars that are not falling from the sky and a moon that is not falling from the sky. And again, there'll be no scaffolding, no strings, nothing attaching our planet to the sun and to the moon and to the stars that we can see. So we have to wrap our heads around this idea that there's a lot more going on in the universe than we can see. The human eye cancels out about 99% of what is happening around us, because our brains are designed to pay attention to what has happened to us. So your survival brain is actually what is allowing information to be processed by you, by your brain. And so, for instance, I could not see people in my reality that liked me for who I was. I could only see people who reminded me of how I grew up, not feeling good enough. So I was wired to seek approval. I was wired to not feel good enough. And who did I attract? I attracted situations within myself. I actually recreated my childhood. And as a matter of fact, I screwed up what could have been a wonderful group of friends that I manifested when I was in 8th grade. And I pretended to be someone that I was not. I was so insecure, I couldn't imagine why these girls wanted to hang out with me. So I created this false self. And when they figured out that I was lying, they didn't want to have anything to do with me, and I don't blame them. And that was a very tough lesson to learn at 12 years old. And I swore to myself at 12 that I would never do that again, that I would never pretend that I was someone that I wasn't. Again, I was 12 years old, and in my mind, I had just made the decision that life was just too painful. I couldn't do this relationship thing. I couldn't get my mother's approval. I couldn't get my father's approval. I was screwing up friendships with really nice girls, and there was something wrong with me. So it was better off that I just don't pay attention to anyone, that I don't try to make friends, because I'm going to hurt people and screw things up. Again, I was 12 years old. That all fell to the wayside when I went into high school and I met a wonderful young girl who wouldn't leave me alone. And we ended up being friends. And she pulled on my heartstrings, and she introduced me to a bunch of other girls that became my friends. And we joined the volunteer ambulance corps, and I became the captain of a youth squad. We went into competition, and that point in my life really helped turn me around. I had a coach, and that coach really saw something in me. She made me the captain of this youth squad team. And our team went on to sweep these first aid competitions. I know it really sounds nerdy, but it really saved my life. It gave me something to hold on to. It gave me a meaning and gave me a purpose, and it really helped breathe life into me at a point in my life where I just didn't feel like I had anything to really live for. And so it was a really amazing time in my life. So I just wanted to talk about how it could be no other way that what we experience in life, we experience in life. Because when it comes to our outer reality, we attract to us what we are. And we attract to us what we desire, unwanted as well as wanted. And so when I attracted that first group of girls, I was playing out my childhood trauma. I was saying, I'm not good enough. Why would anybody want to be friends with me? And this is what my mother used to say to me. You're a bad girl. You're selfish. You're this. You're that. Why would anybody want to be your friend? You're never going to have any friends. So that became my inner narrative. So that's who I was at an emotional level, at a psychological level, at a vibrational and subconscious level, at a feeling level. That's who I was. What did I draw to me? I drew to me the exact equivalent to what I was feeling on a subconscious level. And I played out in the 3D world all of the narratives that my mother instilled in me. And after I had this incredibly painful experience, I was so ashamed of myself that when I was found out, I just said, I'm not doing this anymore. That was a turning point for me. And when I let go of the past and I just said, that's it, I'm not doing that thing anymore. I had no idea of what the thing was that I was going to ever do again. I had no programming for it, but I just knew I wasn't going to do that again. And when I went into high school, I let go, right? I wasn't going to hold on to that old narrative. And so that's why I believe I was able to draw into my experience an entirely new group of friends with a new attitude. I still had a lot to learn from that place in my life. I'm still learning. I'm 58, I'll be 59 soon. So I'm still learning. But I can tell you that when I look back and I think about what I attracted, it makes sense to me. And it goes back to what is happening to us on a subconscious level. During that time in my life, I was about 14 or 15 when I had my first real boyfriend. And who did he mirror? He mirrored the parents in my life who withheld affection, who played mind games. Granted, he was only a 17-year-old boy. 17-year-old boys are very immature. So are 15-year-old girls. So both of us were very immature. He was playing out his childhood. I was playing out my childhood. It was very dramatic and very unnecessary, but it could be no other way. So that relationship taught me a lot about myself too. When I ended that relationship, what did I manifest? I manifested another relationship with someone who was a little bit more covert. It wasn't so obvious. He kept his feelings more to himself, and his withdrawing personality, the way that he withheld, the stonewalling, it was covert. It wasn't as obvious. And so I was blindsided by that. And he, like me, very immature, playing out his father's reality. I was playing out my reality with my mother, with him. And there I was again. I was in this toxic loop again, unaware that I was unaware. So I brought to me, I attracted to me and through me what was still unresolved within me on a subconscious level. Even though I was 21 years old and I was in nursing school and I looked like I had my life together, I was a mess on the inside. I had anxiety, I was struggling with depression, I had codependency and didn't even know it. I had tremendous self-doubt. I thought that the answers to my life were outside of me. Finally, when I become a nurse, my mother will accept me. Finally, when I have a wonderful person in my life, my mother and father will accept me. Finally, if I find someone who loves me and he accepts me, finally, then I'll be good enough. Then I'll have a baby and this baby will love me and then everything will be okay. I'll prove to the world that I am worthy. I'll take care of this baby, take care of this person, blah, 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 blah. And I build a life where I'm taking care of everyone else but myself. 12 years later, I end up with depression, I end up with severe anxiety, I end up with asthma and migraine headaches, and my life is imploding. I am really unraveling very, very quickly. I believe I was either having a nervous breakdown or close to it. And I just could not take the relationship dynamics between my ex and I. I had gone to 4 or 5 different therapists. I was told that I wasn't loving enough. I was told that I wasn't forgiving enough. I was told I wasn't trying enough. And then ultimately I said, this is not working. When we finally found a therapist who I felt could see through what was happening between my ex and I, my ex said, he's not going back to therapy anymore. Okay. At that point, I find my own therapist who says to me, listen, like all of this stuff that you're experiencing is real, but it's real because you're codependent. All of this anxiety, all of this depression, all of this self-doubt, you are so wrapped up in worrying about what other people think about you that you've lost yourself. And I was like, wow, like that's what's wrong with me. And I was as excited as I was terrified, because it was the first time in my life, and I had been searching through books, through 12-step meetings, through therapists. I had been searching for what's wrong with me. And so this diagnosis was profound. And that's when I read Codependent No More by Melody Beattie. It's her famous book. If you are the adult child of an alcoholic or suffering from some type of an addiction where you have become enmeshed in a relationship with someone else and you've lost yourself, or you're a child of abandonment and you don't have a healthy sense of self, chances are that you have heard of Codependent No More. The book really did help me turn my life around. What I was looking, however, for were tools for how to fix it. I really didn't find the tools that I was looking for in that book. I found the knowledge, but I didn't find the tools that I was looking for. And I swore to myself that if I ever get through this, if I ever figure out how to fix this, that I would commit my life to it. But first, I had to figure out how to fix it. And so I went home, I told my husband, I know what's wrong with us. I was super excited. We're codependent. All I have to do is start taking care of myself. Stop putting this responsibility on you to make me feel good about me. I'm going to let you take more care with you. You're going to take care of yourself more. I'm going to worry less. I'm going to let you have your feelings. I'm going to have my feelings. And he looked at me like I had 13 heads. Like, what are you talking about? After I thought about it, I realized, no, he liked me worrying about what he thought about me just fine, because it was like a carrot on a stick. If he said jump, I said how high, because I was so in tune and attuned to his mood that if his mood was up, my mood was up. If his mood was down, my mood was down. So my emotional regulation was tied to what was happening outside of me. And I knew that I had to learn how to hold on to myself. And when he said, oh no, I'm not changing, I knew that my marriage was doomed. It was never going to be the same. And that terrified me, because I gave up my nursing career to get married. We had a business together. I was financially dependent upon him. Now I had these 3 little kids. I was living around the corner from his family. My family and I were not very close. I had grown up feeling very judged by them. I would say that I was the scapegoat, and I was the child that we focused on as being the problem, so we don't have to look at the self, especially being a truth teller, being aware of what's going on in the family and talking about it. I was not someone that my family liked to think well of. I was very much pushed down. I would hear my mother and father talking about me to friends and family. It was just so painful. So I didn't have my family at that time. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a career path. I was completely dependent upon this man and the business that we had that he was in control of. And now I had 3 little kids. And now I didn't have a family to go to. So it was a really scary time. But I knew in my heart that I just couldn't do what I always had done. And it reminded me of when I was a little girl, when I was 12, and I decided that's it. I'm not pretending to be someone I'm not anymore. And I didn't know where I was going to go. I didn't see the path. And then I remember reading something somewhere, and it said, the bridge appears after you jump, not before. And here I was in that situation again, where I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't stay. And the minute I made that decision that this is wrong, I'm not raising my children in this dysfunction. I've done enough damage. My son is 11 years old. My daughter's 9, and I have a baby who was like 2.5 at the time, almost 3. And I had done enough programming of them to not have a self and to worry about what everybody else thought about them, to have anxiety, to lose themselves in relationship dynamics, that I knew something had to change. And that was a real big turning point in my life. And that's when I got really serious about healing from codependency. And I also got involved eventually with understanding the subconscious mind. I got really involved in understanding how people are programmed outside of their consciousness to self-sabotage, to have self-limiting beliefs. And I was fascinated by this idea that it wasn't me, it was my programming. And that when I look back at the generations, my mother was codependent, my grandmother was codependent. It terrified me, it excited me at the same time for a possibility to change, because I understood the law of inversion was real. So if 2 + 2 = 4, 4 - 2 = 2. So if unconsciousness had created this dysfunction, then consciousness can uncreate it. If thoughts can create, they can uncreate and recreate. And that is what really, really got me excited. So along with learning about codependency, along with learning about the subconscious mind, I began to understand child psychology and how a healthy child grows up in a healthy home versus an unhealthy home, and how that child, it's not their fault, is set on a path that is not their fault. However, if that child eventually becomes an adult and they get the right information, they can absolutely turn their life around, because the power is within us. The subconscious mind is ours, and we can control the data that enters the subconscious mind, and we can uncreate as well as recreate. And that's what I'm all about. I eventually started learning about attraction, about the quantum field. And I know to a lot of people they hear, oh, law of attraction, oh, The Secret, it's a bunch of pseudoscience. And I really do, I love the book, The Secret, and I love the movie, and I love many of the law of attraction gurus and meditation teachers out there that teach this stuff. However, without a real understanding of the science behind the quantum field, like quantum mechanics, the law of attraction, when you use that term, it just sounds silly. Oh, I believe in the law of attraction. Okay, right? People look at you like you have 10 heads, like you're a nut job. You believe in the law of attraction. However, when you understand quantum entanglement, when you understand the observer effect, it's undeniable. Einstein himself said, this is spooky. It's spooky at a distance, meaning that once two particles become entangled, once particle A changes, there's an immediate effect in particle B. The change is the same. So when you start to think about quantum entanglement, and you start to understand that how particles affect one another, and you start to understand the observer effect, that we can't measure a particle in space until we observe it. What are we talking about? When we understand the observer effect at the quantum level, then you can understand that how as a mother, when my mother looked at me with disdain, how her observer effect, how she was seeing me, and me being particle B, her being particle A, how that affected me. How the windows of her soul, when I saw disdain, when I saw hate, when I saw rage, when I saw disgust, when I saw jealousy, whatever it was that I saw in my mother's eyes, she's particle A, I'm particle B. She quantumly changed me forever at a subconscious level, at an energetic level. So of course, what do I attract? I draw to me and through me that which I am. So who do I attract? I attract people who look at me the same way my mother did. And I'm under the spell of this subconscious programming, and I don't even know it. And so when it comes to the law of attraction, I don't even like using that term, law of attraction, but it's so important to understand if we are going to break the spell of living with a narcissist, if we're going to break the spell of codependency, if we are going to break the spell of self-doubt or growing up as the adult child of an alcoholic or even being an alcoholic. Why do we drink in the first place? Why do we take drugs? Why do we smoke so much weed? What are we doing? What are we trying to run from? Everything we run from is following us because it's within us. The conflict is within us. And once we break the spell, then we're free of it. So I think it's really important that those of us who are interested in this work, if you just put all the pieces of the puzzle together where you understand child psychology, you understand physiology, you understand the quantum field, quantum mechanics, when you understand that you at your nature are a vibrational being and you cannot help but emit frequencies, and when you understand that the field around you is full of interstitial atomic quantum energy, and it is designed to draw to you and through you that which is equal to you. And so people say, well, I'm codependent. Why do I attract a narcissist? Because a codependent and a narcissist are both shame-based. So if I'm codependent and I don't know how to focus on myself, I'm going to attract someone who only focuses on himself, and that's going to be like a hand and a glove in me. And this person is going to demand that I don't focus on myself, and that's okay because I don't know how to focus on myself. And this person is going to run the ship. Well, that's okay because I don't know how to captain my own ship. And so unfortunately, a codependent in a relationship with a narcissist that's their sweet spot. That's what they're comfortable with. Why? Because at a subconscious level, they are attracting what they know. And unfortunately, at the psychological level, they think they're doing everything right. So here's this dissonance. So we really have to understand the world at large and even reality, the nature of reality, if we're really going to break this spell. Because once you do, that's where you're able to find the liberation. Once they understood that it wasn't me, it was just my programming, it wasn't my fault, and it could be no other way, then it was like, okay, I want to know how to fix this. I want to know how to break through the chains of the past. And that's what my work is all about. And so if you're interested in my work and you're interested in this process and the client journey, the journey that I take my clients on and my students on, I highly recommend that you check out my website at www.lisaaromano.com. Now, if you're someone who is part of my coaching ecosystem, then you know that the 12-week Breakthrough Coaching Program is designed to help you break through the subconscious mind. And you know that the masterclass is about helping you get in touch with your emotions at a much more attuned level and helping you to align with that you want. In other words, like, you have to become a magnet for what you desire. You can't just want it in the conscious field. And you really have to, deeper, you have to believe that you're worthy of it. Because if you want, let's say you want this beautiful car, well, if you don't think that you're worthy of it, if you don't think that you'll have the payments to pay for it long term, there's dissonance there. And so what are you really offering this quantum field, which is designed, right, to bring to you that which you are? That's the way it's designed. When an apple falls to the ground, it doesn't produce a banana tree, it produces another apple tree. So this quantum field is designed to draw to us what we are at an energetic level, what we are at a subconscious level. And that's why it's so important for anybody who is under the spell of a narcissist to understand they have brainwashed you. They have hijacked you at the level of your feeling. And the mental pictures that you have are probably very negative. And so when you just see that and you create some space for you mentally and emotionally to understand that, then you understand the power you have to take control over your subconscious mind. It doesn't happen overnight because you need mental tools to be able to hold on to yourself. And your mind also has to understand, why am I doing this? Once your mind has a why, then your mind by default develops pleasure around pushing past the pain points. Once I understood that I am divorcing this man, even though I don't know where I'm going to go and I don't know what's going to happen next, when I understood I was doing it because I didn't want my children to be programmed any further for this dysfunction, and further, I wanted the opportunity, and I knew there was no opportunity if I stayed married, because he said he wasn't going to change. I knew that I wanted the opportunity, which was me taking a gamble, but at least it was the opportunity. It's the same reason I play the lottery every week, because I just want a chance. If I don't play the lottery, I don't have a chance. So when I got divorced, it was because I wanted at least an opportunity to one day teach my children something different. Guess what? That one day is here. I am married to someone who is my equal. I am married to someone who has empathy, who is generous, who is kind, who is a real life partner. And my children and his children have benefited greatly. Anthony and I have paved a new reality for our children, and you can see it in their relationships. It's absolutely beautiful. And I know that had I not gotten divorced, my children would have been on a very different path. And so when we're thinking about the law of attraction, you're thinking about being in a relationship with a narcissist, it's really important that you understand that this could go back to childhood, that you could have been groomed to not have a self. Or you have a self, you just don't know how to connect to the self because you live outside of the self. And also you're tormented internally because you're so ashamed of the self. So how do you look internally? No, you run from the shame. How do you run from the shame? You deny how you feel, and then you focus on the outside. You go for another degree, you get a bigger car, you get a bigger house, you get another relationship, you get another lip injection, butt lift, whatever your thing is. You try so hard to do something and manipulate the outside to fix what's going on in the inside. It doesn't work that way. And so if I wanted to paint my house, I can't stand out and outside my house to paint the house. I have to get inside my house to paint the house. I have to clean the walls, I have to prepare the walls, prep the walls, and then I actually have to paint the walls. That's how this is done. But we don't know that. We're so outer addicted. We're so addicted to our cell phones. We're so addicted to social media. I mean, it is profound. No matter where I go these days, I see someone outside just with a stick, a selfie stick, and they are constantly taking selfies of themselves. And I've even seen it with mothers and fathers who are ignoring their children and taking selfies of themselves, and the kids are just like wandering. I went to a sunflower patch not that long ago, And there was a couple there, and they were really upset with the kids because they weren't smiling, and they wanted to get this happy photo in this sunflower field so they can put it on social media and get external likes from people they don't even know. I mean, just think about that, dear ones. Think about the addiction to the outside, the validation, the approval from the outside, and yet there's a disconnect between mom and dad. They're drinking the Kool-Aid of social media, and they're ignoring what's happening between them and their children. And what are they programming their children to do? To think that it's more important to pretend that you're happy than to be really happy. It's more important to pretend that you're connecting as a family than to actually connect as a family. And I was on that path. And I'm so glad that I'm not on that path anymore. And I'm using this information and this knowledge and this wisdom to teach other people how to get off that path too and to get on the right path. And so if you're in a relationship with someone who's highly narcissistic and you understand that it wasn't you, it was just your programming, that you may have been groomed to have a loss of selfhood and seek outside of you. That's what you learned in my 12-week class. And then in the master class, the 8-week class, what we learn is how to control our intention and how to control our focus and how do we identify what it is that we really want in the 3D world, which is always going to come down to an experience. It's going to come down to a feeling. So we teach you over 8 weeks how to get in touch with that feeling. And it's really powerful stuff. Right now, I'm in the process of creating my next course, which is Soul School, A Course in Love Consciousness. It's a 10-week course. And I build out my programs the way I do this similarly. So the 12-week class is a video, a meditation, journaling prompts, homework, class notes, and some recaps about what you learned. And we've added a bunch of bonuses since I first launched it in 2016. And the masterclass is 8 weeks of video lessons. You're going to learn really profound information. They build off of each other. And you're also going to get alpha brainwave meditations. We're going to calm you down. We're going to relax you, get you into a relaxed state so you're able to do this amazing work, journaling prompts and homework. Why? Because we're trying to remap your mind. We're trying to get you healed and intent filled at the subconscious level, because the subconscious level is what is attuned to the quantum field. Now, the quantum field in reality is where the subconscious mind outputs and it manifests. So what's done is done is done. All the power is in the now. So we're going to teach you these tools in the 8-week masterclass. In Soul School, the 10-week class it's the follow-up class to the 12-week and the 8-week class. So the Soul School is all about teaching you how to live in a state of love consciousness, the power of that. And I can tell you that if you fear the quantum laws, you're wise. Because if you understood how the quantum field worked, then you would be very, very cautious about your tongue, what you say and what you think and what you feel. You would be very spooked by any criticism of another person. You would be very mindful of saying, oh, I hope that person doesn't get sick. Your tongue is the sword of creation. And before that, in the beginning, like the Bible says, in the beginning there was the word, but before the word is what? Is a feeling. And so A Course in Love Consciousness is taking you even higher, where it's going to teach you about the power of living beyond ego consciousness. And it's not going to be for everybody, because it's a course that I'm going to ask you as the course creator and as the teacher of this course, I'm going to ask you if you are willing to let go of it all. Let go of the narrative, let go of the stories, let go of the justifications, let go of the rationalizations, let go of everything that has ever been for an opportunity to live in a higher state of consciousness, in a state of love consciousness, which not everybody is ready for. I could not do this work 20 years ago. I had to learn what I learned in the 12-week program first. It wasn't me. It wasn't my fault, and it could be no other way. And I am enough. I'm enough. I had to learn that first. And then I had to prove to myself that there was something to feeling and receiving, to feeling and creating. There was something to this. I had to learn what I teach in the 8-week class before I could get to a point where I am now, where I am consciously and from a very high state of consciousness, I'm choosing to manage my internal universe. I am choosing to manage the words that I use. I'm choosing to manage the pictures that I have for myself, for my granddaughter, for humanity, for the world. That's why I don't watch the news. People say, oh, we live under a rock. I go, yep, and I'm doing more for you and more for humanity because I do. Because when I watch things that I can't control, I become one with what I watch. So now my mental pictures are being controlled by something, by this boob tube, by television programming. And I don't want that. I don't want that for me, and I don't want that for you. So yeah, I live under a rock. I imagine the world I want to live in. And I know that I'm not alone. And I'm so grateful that we have people like monks, for instance, who have no access to television, who live in a state of mindfulness, because they are really helping us maintain a certain level of balance on planet Earth. And I imagine what would happen if all of us just started to imagine the world that we wanted to live in. How much or how many problems would begin to just naturally work themselves out? Would we have people in power that were thought about uniting us rather than dividing us? The United States is not so united anymore. And could we manifest leaders who are interested in uniting people, not only the United States, but across the globe? That can only happen if each of us are willing to unite within ourselves, if we are interested and devoted to healing the cognitive dissonance within our own being, if I'm able to merge with the divine self and emerge from this healing journey integrated and knowing clearly what my vision is for myself and for the world. That can only happen at the micro level, the macro level, if it happens at the micro level. And so Gandhi said it best: be the change you want to see in the world. Be the change you want to see in the world. When I criticize, I am attracting criticism. When I have an angry disposition, I attract people who will become angry with me. When I see people in a negative light, I inevitably attract people who see me in a negative light. And I also reinforce why it is I see people in a negative light, because that's backwards rationalization. Your mind must rationalize what you believe, and you only see what you believe. That's very spooky. I can only see what I believe. Again, science is proving, neuroscience is proving, and even quantum mechanics proves that the observer effect is where it's at. What you observed in childhood becomes your viewpoint, it becomes your emotional set point, and also your vision set point, because your brain, the reticular activating system, is designed to only see what you have seen in the past. And so if you have seen trauma, if you are dripping in chaos as a child, CPTSD, your brain is hardwired for that. So your brain is in survival. So is the prefrontal lobe taking over? No. You're living through the amygdala. Everything scares you. Life is scary. You're overwhelmed. You don't even know that you're stuck in the midbrain, that you're stuck in the limbic system. That's really important information. And so that's why I create courses that there are video lessons and meditations and journaling prompts to take you out of anxiety mode. So these courses are designed to pull you into the prefrontal lobe. Right? So you can still read a book. The minute you close that book, you may have felt relaxed while you're reading the book, but the minute you close the book, your limbic system comes back online. Well, my courses are designed to map your brain very differently. My courses are designed to activate the higher functions of your brain through meditation, through journaling work, through homework, as well as the videos, and also the community involvement, whether it's be on Facebook or inside our community forum inside my website. And so when you become completely immersed in the healing program, you are changing your subconscious mind, and you can only change what shows up in your reality when you change at the subconscious level, because the subconscious level is tied to the quantum field. And that's the way this works, dear one. So when people start talking about the law of attraction, understand that it is scientific, although the words law of attraction they can put people off like pseudoscience. But when you say things like the law of causality, if you don't believe it, look it up. When you talk about the observer effect, don't believe me, believe that it's real, look it up. This idea that you don't know, you can't measure a particle in space until you observe it, which means that it's in a superposition, which means that a particle in space can end up anywhere and will end up anywhere that the observer decides it is. So my intention as the observer, what do I see? That roots it in that spot. And particles exist, E equals mc squared. A particle exists as matter as well as a wave. The wave is a pure potential. When I look at a particle, I collapse the wave. When we're looking at our children and we only see negative, we're collapsing the wave. We're rooting them to that spot. I know that I did that to my son, and I was crying ugly tears during a meditation when I realized the power of the observer within me and what I had been observing in my son, and how I realized I was doing to him what my mother had done to me. And I was under the egoic impression that I was so much further along than my mother. Well, the Bible also says the humble shall inherit the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven in my mind is peace of mind. And so when I humbly saw that in myself, I collapsed. and I created a new potential. And it was from that day forward that I swore to myself that I will only see what I want to see in my son. And my son's life has completely turned around. So it takes time. Maybe that was about, I would say, probably 7 years ago. So it takes time for this to change. But where am I going? Where am I going? I would rather do this work and be patient and be humble and stay faithful to the quantum laws that govern time and space, because I know that they're real and they're absolute. And they are my spirituality. This is my religion. The quantum field is my religion. And kindness and compassion, they are virtues of someone who's living in higher states of consciousness. I don't need anything else. Some people do, and that's fine. And it's okay if you criticize me for it. I will not criticize you back. This is what's right for me. This is what feels right for me. I believe that there is a source. I believe there is a creator of all that is. And I believe there are quantum loopholes. And I believe that karma is real. What I put out, I will receive. And so if I change the way I am on the inside, if I have a new mind, then I can create a new life. And that's really exciting. So I hope that this has helped you understand a little bit more about who I am and about my journey as a healing person in this 3D world, as well as your journey if you decide to work with me and opt in to join the 12-week class, the master class, and eventually Soul School. And you should also know that I've created a maintenance program, which is the Break the Warrior membership program. And this is for people who are conscious healers, who are on this path, and they are encouraged by a conscious community of people who also want to heal. And we cut out all the fluff and stuff. We're just completely committed to how do I raise my level of consciousness around this so I can break through the chains of the past. And inside the membership program, you have access to many of my paid programs that are available for purchase as a standalone product. We've just added all of those products to the Break the Warrior membership site. And every month I release another mini course, and every month I offer a group class where I answer your questions live. We have moderators that are monitoring the conversations, and it's a beautiful place to be in this world of social media, because it is attached to a Facebook group, and there is an inside community too, inside my Break the Warrior membership site, inside the website. And so it's just for conscious healers who want to stay motivated, who are interested in not only changing their life, but the lives of their children and the lives of society. They want to be a powerful force in society, and they understand that the only way to do that is to raise their consciousness and to live more intently and to be more responsible for what they think and their mental images and what they feel. They believe in this work, and I support them, our moderators support them, and every month we add new resources to this program. And so those are the many ways that you can work with me. You could also work with me personally, and if you're interested in any of these ideas, don't hesitate to reach out at www.lisaaromano.com or shoot us an email at coach@lisaaromano.com. Namaste, everybody. You are enough. It's not you. It's your programming. It's not your fault, and it could be no other way. However, there is a key to change your life, and that key resides within you. Your subconscious mind is where it's at. So do whatever you can to heal at the subconscious level. And in a certain amount of time, depending on what's happened thus far, I promise you that if you stay faithful to this idea that you have to heal at the subconscious level, your life must change, and it will. I'm rooting for you. If you love this content, don't forget to check out the next video, and you can go to my website and take the codependency quiz.